He doesn't even wait anymore. He doesn't even wait for the actual stream to start. He doesn't wait for me to start talking. He now starts getting pressed the moment that he hears that song end. He's learned the end of the second intro stream song, and he listens for that. And when he hears it start to fade away, he's like, oh my God. Oh my God, it's time for a treat. If you're wondering who I'm talking about, allow me to inform you. You want a treat? The extreme close-up, the extreme, the snoot in 4K, as it were, which is not true. I don't stream at 4K, so I just lied to you. You did not just see the snoot in 4K. You saw the snoot in it's probably 720p. So deal with it. It was still a good snoot. How's it going, everybody? My name is Endeavorance. It is Wednesday. It is January. It is the 7th. I don't even think about years anymore. How's everybody doing? I've been reported and unfollowed by Okayish for lying about the snoot. I'm very, very, very sorry. Darcy blows. Darcy, that's the dog is on the ground. Perfect. All right. All right. Hi, everybody. Hey, and also hi, and how's it going? There's certainly a world going on out there, and I haven't really made sense of it yet. I started off this year ready to kind of expand my horizons, focus on some other subject matter, make new things with my channel, and then the guy in the very colorless house was like, yo, hey guys, idea. What if we arbitrarily just kind of middle of the night, just sort of go send our military across sovereign borders and steal someone's president away? So cool, great, cool. The problem here is I was like, maybe I'll actually have some bandwidth this time to do something else. I kind of resigned to with everything that's been going on with Gaza and Palestine. I was like, okay, I know I'm going to be on that topic for quite some time. Guess we just got another one now. I guess this is just what we do forever. So the president invaded Venezuela for no reason, for no fucking reason, and now is talking about buying or invading Greenland, or buying or invading Cuba and Colombia. It's just kind of all of it at once. Essentially, the floodgates broke for all of the weird warhawk dudes with a boner for the idea of conquering South America that have been festering within this administration. They all basically just got the thumbs up, and they're like, oh, we can do it. Oh yeah, you're right. The guy who's in charge is an idiot who just does whatever we say. So what if we just did that? Invaded, think it was a kidnapping? I don't think that there's much of a distinction there. I don't think that the word kidnapping is a more accurate or specific word about what happened than an invasion from a foreign military force. Among the invasion, a person was snatched, which yes, kidnapping. A lot of people seem to be trying to say what this is, and the reality is it's fucked is what it is. And what it is doesn't matter because it shouldn't be happening. And like no one wants this. Like the only people who are for this are the most like deep in the cult MAGA people who truly cannot conceptualize a world where they break from just whatever marching orders they're told, right? Even if you go into conservative spaces right now, it's wild. The whole moving the goalpost thing, you know, the whole like, oh, here's a line in the sand. You know, I would never support this guy if he crossed it, and then he crosses the line, and they're like, well, here's another new line in the sand, right? Like they are masters of moving the goalpost. It has gotten to the point now where they don't really have room to move the goalpost anymore, because these are the people who were screaming about how Trump was the no new wars president and how we can't go for the Dems because they're all, you know, they've got a war boner, which is true, and also true about the Republicans. But like they spent so long being like he's the anti-war candidate that like even the most like I will refuse to be wrong conservatives seem to be like, okay, maybe we need to examine what the fuck has happened to our movement. Like I'm actually seeing, you know, it's not a realization of, oh, I'm an idiot and should change literally everything about how I view the world. It's our movement has been taken over by the Groypers, right? Like they're now finding a new, more extreme group to contrast themselves with, because all this time until now, they've assumed that they were going to get out of this unscathed, right? They assumed that as long as they stuck with the line, as long as they just did nothing but focus on pissing off the libs, something good would eventually happen. But hey, nothing good has happened for them in the past calendar year, and now we're invading a foreign country and talking about invading multiple others simultaneously while people's healthcare rates just tripled. So they're like, man, you know, we really were onto something, but the movement was taken over by the crazy racist fascists, and that's what's going on. And that's not me, and I wasn't happily forming a coalition with them this whole time, and I wasn't happily endorsing the idea of the president just trolling this whole time, right? It was like, oh, he wants to go after Greenland. He's just trolling. He wants to go after Canada. Oh, he's just trolling. The libs are overreacting. I need to move the dog cam. Hold on. More important. Okay. That's far more important. So yeah, like instead of being like, oh, you know, they're like, he's just trolling. When he says he wants to get Greenland, like he's just trolling, and the libs and the mainstream media are overreacting and so on and so forth. And then he's like, hey, I want Greenland. Like actually. Like I want to do this. And so now they are forced to either be like, yes, I am all for this. I totally voted for Trump because I wanted to annex Greenland. Or they have to say like, oh, fuck, like all this time that I have said that everyone who tells me that I'm, you know, missing something, everyone who's been telling me that like I'm supporting evil shit and I've laughed in their faces and said they're overreacting, they were literally right every single step of the way. And now my options are admit that I was wrong for a decade, or try to find a new way to explain why things didn't go my way. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now, is like within conservatives, they're sort of like trying to find a way to explain this. But then you see the elected officials, right? Democrats and Republicans, and they're fucking giddy about this. You see that clip with Lindsey Graham on Air Force One? I would show it to you, but I'm not gonna forcefully show you Lindsey Graham's face. That's no one needs that. But there's a clip of Lindsey Graham with Trump on Air Force One, like giggling like a schoolgirl at the idea of toppling more countries. Like he's just excited about this. He's excited about the idea of toppling Cuba. And here's the thing that really gets to me across all of this, right? Like obviously we shouldn't be invading a foreign country and stealing their leader, regardless of anything, right? We are not the ones that enforce the law for the government of Venezuela. That they're not a vassal state, despite certain people literally wanting that. But these things, these like beefs that this administration is now like working on, have been simmering for the ancient fucking generation that won't retire for more than our entire lives. Like, if you are watching this stream right now, the reasons that Lindsey Graham and other people in his echelon of the ancient fucking representatives who won't let go of power, they have been wanting to topple Cuba probably since before you were born, right? You probably don't think about Cuba if you were a US citizen ever. If you were a just like natural born US citizen in the past 50 years, you probably haven't given a shit about Cuba. And like, if you do, it's because you've been told to, but not because anything has happened. And so it's like, why are we talking about invading countries that are not a threat to us, that are not in the public consciousness, just because these old motherfuckers refuse to let go of power or die? And like, that's where we are. Like, no one's asking for this. The polling for this is abysmal, by the way. Like you should know that the polling for the current actions being taken by the US among US citizens is shockingly low. Like, we're all used to the fact that any poll that comes out with approval ratings about something that Trump is doing, it's going to be like Republicans support it 90%, Democrats it's like a 2% number, and then independents it's like 30%, right? With this, it's almost entirely underwater. Like, among Republicans, only 50% support what Trump is currently doing. And that's registered Republicans who will willingly identify themselves in the year of our Lord 2026 as Republicans. So like, it's essentially 0% support from Democrats and 0% support from independents. And among Republicans, where it usually, like, Trump could shoot a puppy on TV. In fact, Trump appointed a puppy shooter into his cabinet, and they all still support that. But we're finally seeing someone break with that, right? Like, we're finally seeing it go below that like 90% number into something that makes a bit more sense. Like, hey, maybe we should be divided or cautious or against invading other countries because the White House is bored. So, bipartisan disapproval. Yeah, right? Like, bipartisan disapproval is very rare in this country. And even when it does occur, it usually occurs for differing reasons, or they'll find a way to like make it so that the two sides aren't really agreeing. But yeah, no one wants this. I don't think that it's going the way they thought it would. I truly think that they are so coked out and so like brain rotted from scrolling on Twitter that they thought that this was going to be met with thunderous applause and like a mandate to continue. But they forget that like they're getting high on their own supply. Like, Republicans did not get a mandate. That they didn't at all, even kind of get a mandate in 2024, despite them really, really wanting to make that claim. They kind of won a little bit. Like, it was the first time that a Republican president eked out a majority vote, barely, in like decades. That's not a mandate. Like, they got all the different, all three houses. Yeah, right? Like, that's one way to look at it, but that's not a mandate. A mandate is fucking Mamdani, where like he brought in over 1 million votes by himself in New York City. That's a mandate. A mandate would be like a 100-point electoral college swing and an absolute crash out in the Senate and Congress. And that's not really what happened. They have a tiny majority in both chambers. which is not enough to really do anything, which is why all of this stuff is executive orders, right? Like, it's why everything that this administration is doing is all executive orders, because they don't actually have the ability to pass legislation that's as harmful as they want to. But they sure as hell can pass executive orders that are confusing enough that people just assume it's real. Anyway, I'm gonna take a sip of water because somebody told me to hydrate like 15 minutes ago when I started this rant, and I haven't stopped. How's everybody doing? What's up? I'm here now. I'm back. Didn't they have a live Twitter feed in the picture of the war room they released? They did. They did. They had there was a video posted from the quote unquote situation room, which was really just like some curtains they put up at Marlock. In that room there was a TV that had Twitter up, and the search bar was searching for the word Venezuela. They really wanted to just see people applaud while they were doing strikes on a foreign nation. Pretty wild. Hydrate or dihydrate? I did hydrate. I hydrated. Dice rolls are looking a little low. Oh, weird. Is it not multiplying? That's annoying. I'll look into that in a little bit. But in the meantime, oh well. I wonder why that's happening. Let's see. Numa says, I am middle-aged. I feel so horrible for you younger kids. Please know it isn't Gen X. We got fucked too. They pulled the ladder up on us and they told us to climb faster. I haven't been called a kid in a while. But that's fair. And mostly I'm just tired of this time loop, right? Like, mostly I'm just tired of, like, I was growing up and we were invading a foreign country for oil with no real plan to get out of there and no real mandate to be there in the first place. And then we're doing that again. So fun. I deleted my entire Obsidian vault. I'm doing great, not sarcasm. That's good. I honestly, like, I love Obsidian a ton, right? Like, I have 2 whole ass videos on my channel about using Obsidian and how much I love it. I also enjoy doing a good clean sweep every once in a while. Last night, the Pentagon Pizza Index went to DEFCON 1. I do like the Pentagon Pizza Index. It's fun. It's a fun little thing. But also it's not as accurate as some people would want it to be. That said, it's still very fun. For those who are not aware, there's a concept of, like, the Pentagon Pizza Index, which is a website that tracks pizza orders coming or going to pizza places in proximity to the Pentagon, and it's generally associated, like, when there's a rise in pizza orders in that region, it's like, oh, like, what's going on at the Pentagon that they're ordering a bunch of food for people to stay late or something. So yeah, what's funny is it always causes people to think that something's going down on Christmas and New Year's and shit like that, and it's like, or like Christmas Eve, and it's like, no, it's just they're having a pizza party. At the end of the day, you want to know a secret? The Pentagon, they you know how they, like, lose billions and billions of dollars all the time and, like, can't account for where it all went. At the end of the day, they're also still, like, employees and have HR and shit and pizza parties and shit. So it's just that their pizza parties are far more expensive. Millennials do a lot of shouting, but don't really activate it where it counts due to fickle motivation. See voter turnout. I don't know that that's entirely accurate. I'm curious to know if you mean anything more specific there, AMAC, because, like, millennials have been turning out decently. Boomers turn out crazy consistently. But also millennials have been historically a very politically invested generation, beyond just voting too, like protest wise and trying to do something about getting into Congress, but there's old motherfuckers who won't step aside. Lex Heron says, I was born in 2000. This feels like an endless hell cycle, dude. It really does. It kind of really does. And I don't want people to feel like, you know, everything is terrible and we will never be happy again. That's just kind of a great way to die. Like, it's not a good way to be. Maintaining hope while painful and exhausting is still a thing that I think is quite important to do. We are stuck in a time loop. There are differences. There are big differences. There is not a quiet endorsement from the average U.S. citizen about what's going on right now. Right? People are fucking pissed. During the invasion of Iraq, right? Like that, there was significant opposition to that at the time. There was significant opposition to that. There was not the ability to communicate as quickly as we can now, and the preconditions for people to be like, hey, why are we doing that? I can't afford food or health care. What are we doing, right? Like there's a big difference between like, oh, hey, like I can go out and get a burger for $5. It's a damn shame that we're invading Iraq, right? Like there's a big difference between that and I don't know how I'm going to feed my family today. Why are we invading Venezuela, right? That gets people to be focused on the government. And that gets people to question what the hell is going on. And very publicly, this administration is claiming that they are perfect and that anyone who says otherwise is a liar, and that if you don't think things are perfect, that's your fault. And that message doesn't sit well. That is the end game here, right? Like they don't have anything beyond pissing off the libs. That's why they voted for Trump, was to piss off the libs. Well, guess what? Pissing off the libs doesn't bring down grocery prices. So if you were struggling before and you voted for Trump and you're struggling worse now, congratulations. Like you had every opportunity to do anything else. And everyone was telling you this. But your pride and your hubris and your desire to just piss other people off won out. Devnisa says, newish here. I've mostly watched on YouTube. What's the hydrate thing? It's just like a request / reminder for me to take a sip of water because I never remember. Informal Goblin says, I would cry if I lost my Obsidian Vault. I don't, so that's why I don't tend to delete everything in my Obsidian Vault. I use a plugin called Simple Archiver that just gives you a command called archive, and it takes whatever file you're currently in and moves it to the exact same location, but in an archive folder. So if you have like journal / January / whatever, and you archive it, it'll go to archive / journal / January / whatever. And so like, that's how I keep things tidy. Darkane says, even as it starts to shift, there's still the single biggest group with similar or same motivations, largely speaking. I'm assuming you're talking about like boomers. Yeah, they're the biggest generation. So in democracies, they have the biggest power because they are the majority. I wish they didn't grow up and vote to undo the things that their parents literally went to war and then came back from to fuck and have them about. Hence boomers. But yeah, I don't think that I don't really know what to make of like the sort of like general generational war stuff, you know, like I don't really think about it all that like I don't really think about it that way, I guess. What bugs me is the obvious constant march away from making a better life for the future on this weird pretense of like laziness, right? Like, I know that that's just kind of been how humanity is forever, but there's a big difference between, oh, kids these days and their damn whatever, right? Kids these days and their damn books. Back in my day, we just had oral history. There's a big difference between kids these days and their damn books, and we're going to do everything we can to set up the economy in such a way that the average life expectancy drops after our generation. Like, that's a very different outlook. Rad says, thank you for making news more positive, even if it's negative. Your delivery makes it easier to take. Thanks for showing up in my feed. I'm happy to do so. I don't like how most people seem to have a relationship with the news. Like, I don't like the way that it's presented in most places and in most contexts. And I experienced personally what it's like to be thrown into all of these headlines, all these headlines, and like have it really fuck you up. It took me a long time to get to the point where I could like consume and then re-articulate news in a way that was meaningful. And I think a lot of people doom scroll and let it destroy them. And I really want to push back on that. Like, obviously there's a lot of really terrible shit going on, and it really doesn't feel great to have to constantly talk about all this terrible shit. Like, I don't love covering the bad shit. It's not like I enjoy that. I also don't want people to fall into the same patterns that I did, which was basically spiraling into severe depression and feeling like the world is going to break, and I'm the reason why. Like, that is what all this shit does to you. It makes you feel like, can you believe that this thing is happening? And can you believe that that thing is happening? And like, oh, if only things were different, looking at you, like, what am I supposed to do? What? I'm very far behind on chat. Whoops. Wulps, thank you for the follow. Oh, we got a handful of followers. Oh dear. Oh gosh. Oh dang. Hold on. Tiki Room Bunnies, thank you for the shout out. Wulps, thank you for the follow. Isaac Neutron, thank you for the follow. And Ayatollah Diet Soda, thank you for the follow all over on Twitch. Thank you so much. Welcome in. Amex says, embrace nihilistic absurdism. Everything is terrible, nothing matters, which is why everything matters, and we must persist for the trees whose shade we shall never know. Basically, yeah. Yeah, like I refer, what have I called it before? Optimistic nihilism, I think. But yeah, like nihilistic absurdism, like the black-pilled nihilism, right? The we're cooked, everything is irreparably broken, and there's no path to a better world, and or the only thing that can happen is violent revolution, and anyone who suggests otherwise is to be ignored, right? Like, that rhetoric, I fully reject. As someone who identifies as very, very, very far left, who, like, if a revolution happened and changed basically everything, okay. Like, I don't care to preserve basically anything that we have right now. I also, in this life, right here, right now, have things that I can do that would be impactful, and things that I could do that I don't think would be impactful. And what I'm going to do are the things that I think would be impactful. And that, to me, is helping people feel heard, making sure people have what they need, and advocating for things like mutual aid and organized labor force and all that shit, right? Like, I am not a weapons expert. I am not a trained sniper. right? These are not my skill sets. It's also why I don't say that I'm an activist. I don't have experience in organizing, right? Like, that's not my skill set. And that's fine. I have like other things that I can do. It takes a village. Like, there's a big conversation going on right now of people on social media from other countries basically telling US citizens that they should like overthrow the government. And like, I'm not going to sit here and say that they're wrong, right? Like, they're not wrong. Like, these are people who are like, hey, your government is fucking up the world. Could you do whatever possible to make that not the case? What's shitty is the dehumanization and the complete undermining of like the entire lives of the people living here based on an amalgamation of like the average American, right? It's like it's the whole thing with like, oh, just do a revolution. You all have so many guns. Like, that's an extraordinarily reductive understanding of the United States of America. Yeah, there's a lot of guns. There are more guns than there are people, but most people don't have a gun. It's just that the people who have guns have a lot of them, like a lot of them. And those people, on average, who have a lot of guns, are not the ones who are like, hey, our government shouldn't be intervening worldwide, right? Like, hey, maybe we shouldn't go after trans people, right? So like that makes me upset. The people who are like, oh, just go put yourself in mortal danger to potentially take a life because I feel you should do that. Like, okay, do you live in a country that has open trade with the US? Why aren't you putting yourself in mortal danger to overthrow your government based on that moral standing, right? Like, if your country in any way is affiliated with the US, you're part of the empire. Congratulations. You are part of the insulating factor that allows America to do this. So like, asking Americans to overthrow a world scale government, like, we're trying, right? Like, I've seen a couple people say like you could protest, like you could strike. Again, we're trying, but we don't have that infrastructure in place. And like, there's not a world in which we just do a general strike, right? Like this is being talked about all over the place on social media right now. It's like, just do a general strike. Go to generalstrikeus.org or whatever. Like, I've had this rant a million times on my stream in the past, not in the context of us not wanting to continue to invade the rest of the world, but I lost my train of thought. What the fuck was I just saying? What was I just saying? Oh, general strikes. Yeah. People are always saying, like, just do a general strike. You can't just do a general strike. Like, first of all, I'm going to sit. I'm going to sit before I do this rant. I deserve to sit. So I'm going to do that. Please keep your hands, feet, ears, eyes, head, shoulders, knees, and toes inside the vehicle at all times as we ride the roller coaster. Jabba the Hutt says, I just spent $15 on one TF2 cosmetic. What the fuck do you mean stuff is still happening? I once had a Dota 2 cosmetic that was worth like at least 400, if not more than that. And I used to get people trying to scam me for it all the time. So, general strikes in the US. I think they're possible. I want to say that. I want to start by saying I think general strikes in the US are a possibility. I do. I very much do. I don't think that we can't do it. I think the people who are saying just do a general strike have a stark lack of understanding of how to go from A to B with that, right? Like, we don't have a general strike by posting a day online and everyone just joins a Facebook group and we all agree to go not work on that day. Like, that's not how a general strike works. Americans don't have unions. Like we don't. We have some unions. They are very weak, and they are actively demonized. Like it is a taboo concept to join a union because they've been like demonized so fucking hard. But that is how a general strike happens, is from strong labor organization, strong unions. If we get a couple of unions to coordinate strikes, that would summate to a general strike. If we got like the Teamsters and the shoremen, or what the hell is the longshoremen? If we got the Teamsters and longshoremen to strike, that's game. That's game, set, and match. But we need to actually get our unions strong, and like those big unions can like percolate shit down and coordinate with other unions to actually make a plan for doing a general strike. Like the issue is that like there's a striking workforce, but you can only strike for as long as you can eat and live. And if you can't eat and live, you got to do something, and you're going to have people start to peel off of any movement that you try to put together. Because like you can't basically say, all right, every single person here needs to accept that your life is now forfeit because of Donald Trump being in power. And so you need to do whatever is necessary, including sacrifice yourself for this strike. Because unless everyone does that, just doing a general strike won't work. So I do think general strikes are possible. Like that's the takeaway here is I do think that they are possible, and I do think that that is the way that we fix shit. Like I don't think that people are wrong for suggesting it. I think trying to jump from we should do a general strike to we should organize a general strike, you know, me as some social media person should organize a general strike, is again it's the lack of understanding of logistics and activism. It's very similar to when a software developer, you know, I'm a software developer, and I know a lot of these kinds of people who are like, I'm going to try to solve a problem in the world by using software. And it's like, well, hold on, pump the brakes. Let's find an expert on the subject of the problem that you're trying to solve and ask them, how could this problem best be solved? And I guarantee you the answer is not an app or a live service. There might be technology involved, but you should get the specs from the person who knows how to do this thing. So, yeah. I'm not trying to come up with excuses. I want to be clear that, like, as a U.S. citizen, as a tax-paying U.S. citizen, I'm complicit. And I'm not going to try to, like, come up with reasons as to why I specifically don't hold moral weight on what my country does because I need, you know, my medicine. Like, I would not be in a good way if I didn't have my medicine. And in the worst case scenario of like a violent revolution where, like, you know, people aren't going to get their medicine, I would be among the people who would be pretty fucked up by that, right? Like, I take medicine to make it so that I don't want to kill myself. At the same time, like, I understand that in the grand scheme of everything, like, my continued breath is not as important as, like, the ensured security of the entire world. So it's like, it's a chicken cart before the horse. I almost said chicken before the egg, although I guess that's also accurate. It's a cart before the horse situation. I don't have an answer. There is no answer, right? Like, there is no clean, easy answer. Aside from, I don't think anyone should go on the internet and tell random strangers that if they're not willing to sacrifice their life for any reason, that they're weak or immoral. That's the only takeaway I have here, I think. Like, regardless of what you think the right way to go about doing something is, like, if you're gonna go on the internet and tell someone to kill someone else, like it's like when the shooting that happened at Bondi Beach in Australia, the guy that disarmed one of the shooters, he disarmed the shooter, took the gun, and there were people watching that video arguing that he should have shot the guy that he just disarmed. He just disarmed the guy. He probably doesn't want to kill a person, right? Like, you don't know what someone's moral lines are, what their religion says, what they're comfortable with. Like, that guy's already going to be dealing with having been shot and the trauma of what he experienced and having gone in and done what he did. And that's incredible. But people were criticizing him for not then turning around and using that gun to kill the guy. It is so much easier when you're writing from a keyboard or driving in your car listening to some hard music to imagine yourself as some hardened killer who would do whatever is necessary to be done. Don't project that onto other people. Maybe you are a hardened killer and you'd be perfectly fine taking a life. That's not necessarily healthy. And being totally okay with that or even craving that is definitely not healthy. That's why soldiers are all fucked up, because they were like, I'm hard and cool and I'm gonna go to battle. Oh shit. Now I freak out when someone opens a bag of chips. Right? Like, anyway. What's going on? What's going on? Something about Void Boy? Who's Void Boy? We got a Void Boy here? I'm catching up on chat. I'm so fucking far behind. This is my fault. I'm very ranty today, apparently. Darkane says unions are vital. The more the rich try to demonize them, the greater the need for unions is. It's crazy. You go back and you read like labor history stuff, and more specifically, I think this is the most telling part of any human history. Look for art from like the 20s and 30s from like labor movement shit. It's the same as it is now in terms of like the way that unions and workers are portrayed by the owning class. There are poems and songs from the labor rights movement era all about how workers are painted as lazy by their corporate overlords. And there's a song specifically that fucked me up that's about, it's from the perspective of a woman who's lamenting that her husband, who is being called lazy by the coal mine owner, is dying from working 12-hour shifts every single day in the coal mine and not being able to afford food for their family. But like the union was like, these people deserve better working conditions and better pay. And the attack line was the same. It's just like, oh, they're just lazy. They should be so lucky to have that job. And it's the exact same as it is now. I just saw a video this morning about how we know of the giant ball of fire in the sky about to explode, but we are focused on trying to live and such. If only we didn't have these in place. I do wish that we didn't constantly have the dumbest shit imaginable happening. Arcade Bloom says, really appreciate your content. Helps me stay caught up on everything without constantly doom scrolling. I'm glad that can help out. Doom scrolling is not good. If you ever catch yourself doom scrolling, like, I know it can be hard to stop, but really just like put your phone or computer or whatever away and just, I don't want to say go touch grass, but like go touch grass. Like start training your brain such that when you realize like every single post that I see makes me mad, I'm going to stop looking at posts now. Like you stopping looking at posts for a little while after scrolling for a little bit, and the scrolling is making you feel like shit, is not the same as abandoning your morals and looking away from a world on fire, right? There's a big difference between ignoring everything that's going on in the world and protecting momentary peace so that you can at least get through the day. We can't even strike in Wisconsin because of a horrible law called Act 10. People were super against it before it passed. Many people who protested were brutalized and some were imprisoned. So like, obviously a lot of protests will always be met with violence from our cops, which are like the most fucking militarized force. It's not like striking is going to be legal to begin with. And a strike that makes fundamental change to the structures of the US is not going to be considered legal regardless. Like if there was a general strike, especially if it was like the Teamsters and Longshoremen decided to like lead a general strike, I guarantee you there'd be like an executive order at least the next day that declares anybody who's a member of a union is a terrorist. And then that would like let them use the military on them, which is exactly what happens, right? Like in the past, when there were big labor protests, they sent the Pinkertons or the military or the local police to go kill them, right? Like that's not new. That is just how it happened. There were literal like battles fought, live ammunition battles fought between the working class and the goons of the owning class, which is why they're all class traitors, right? It's like why that's why all cops are bastards. It's because by definition you're a class traitor. There does not exist a cop that is a cop and is not a class traitor. Okay, it says, I also think it's more important to note that more people didn't vote than voted for this. I think a lot of people outside the US are speaking the loudest, don't know of this nuance. So that's another thing. Yeah, like obviously Trump is not indicative of what the average US citizen actually wants. A majority of people in this country did not vote for him. That's not what happened. Right? Like most people in this country don't pay attention, let alone vote. And then you add on and this might surprise some people, but you add on the fact that a bunch of online leftists are vehemently spreading like anti-vote sentiment, and I just so strongly disagree with that. I'm an anarchist, and I would encourage you to vote. And I do think that harm reduction is real. I think that people don't understand what harm reduction is supposed to accomplish. I actually wanted to make a video about this, but kind of felt like it'd be bad timing to be like, all right, now that we just invaded Venezuela, let's talk about harm reduction in voting. Like, I'm not telling people to go out and vote to fix this. And I would agree that we don't vote ourselves out of this. I don't think a good candidate for voting can really exist. I think fundamentally, if you're running for an office, you are fucked up a little bit in such a way that you want that position. At the same time, there are absolutely varying degrees, and the concept of harm reduction is not. I need a visual aid here. Let's pull up Canva. Pull up the whiteboard. Whiteboard. Create. Why is this so slow? Hello, Canva? Can you function? Okay. I think we have a whiteboard now. Focus. Desktop. Cool. Okay. So, harm. What even is harm reduction actually? Okay. What even is harm reduction actually? And like, I want to be very clear, and I'm going to put this up in big text underneath. Voting will not save us, and also not voting makes everything worse faster, and also things getting worse faster doesn't make things get better sooner. Okay, so that's sort of the baseline here, okay? You know, voting is not going to save us, and that's fine. But not voting is dumb, and not voting because you hope that things get so bad that something good happens, like revolution or something. That's dumb. Stop doing that. You're basically saying, I'm so edgy that I'm going to do nothing and hope that everyone's life gets worse so that they will make things better for me. Right? If that's your take here, fuck off. Okay. Anyway, so harm reduction. Tools. I need lines. We're gonna make a graph. Can I change the background color here? I don't want it to be so bright. Whatever. Okay. Lines. We're making a graph. Here's an axis, right? And then here's, okay, line, axis. Really good graphs. We've got really good graphs going on here. Okay. The bottom axis is time. All right. And then the side axis is shitty. Okay. So here is the trajectory that we are currently on. Right. There's as time goes on, things get more shitty. All right. What I'm talking about when I talk about harm reduction, let's say that there is an election right. Right. This is an election. The fuck? What the fuck? What is going on? Canva, please. This is an election. All right. So an election happens there. Your options are don't vote or vote. Right? Let's do a quick breakdown of those options here. Don't vote. Vote. Okay. We're gonna do a pros and cons. All right, so if you don't vote, literally nothing is gonna go your way because you opted to do nothing. If you vote, you've spent like 10 minutes voting or like filling out a form once a year at most. You know, parentheses under there, hold on. Unless you're in a place with extremely bad voter suppression. Shit that keeps you in line for hours. Which is not as common as you might think. Like, a lot of people think that like voting is going to be like an hours long process or something. It's really not. Most of the time you go in, you say hi to Ethel. It's Ethel works at every single voting location, and she's the oldest woman alive. And she's going to look up your little card, and she's going to give you a thing, you vote, and you walk out. So it's not a big deal is the point that I'm trying to get at here. And also, harm reduction is about changing the rate of change, right? If you do nothing, the best case scenario is going to usually be that things just kind of continue on as they're continuing on. But what happened is instead of that, we had an election, and the harm reduction graph now is like this, right? Like, this is bad. We don't like that. Let's change this color. This is bad. right? So like, let me like label a few things here. We've got like being super bad about race relations, right? Like that's a given. We got that. That's just sort of always there. We've got like invading Iraq. You know, just sort of like creeping up, being real bad. We got like nobody can afford shit. You know, like these are the timelines, or the moments in the timeline. And then here is Trump got elected, and then, whoo! Now we've got much worse shit, like invading Venezuela, right? Like that. What? Here's the reality of it, though. It's not like you could have voted for someone who would have fixed things. And that's what I'm getting at by voting will not save us. Because let's say you voted for the best candidate and they are truly trying to fix everything and they win. I personally am of the belief that the best possible presidential candidate still can't save us, right? Like the shit is very far gone and we need to clean house. But if you did vote for someone who's not going to actively, you know, endorse the idea of a website that is supposed to be a social media site, but just kind of generates deep fake porn and then invade Venezuela because reasons, and appoint an alcoholic to the Department of Defense to rename it to the Department of War. If you voted for someone who doesn't do those things, you might get something like this instead, right? It's still getting worse. Things aren't good now, but things aren't invading Venezuela bad. The idea is change the rate that things are getting worse, because each tick up on this graph is a real life that you are like happily endorsing the ruining of. And so in my view, we are going to always ruin lives. We are going to always do violence. We are going to every single election of your life, if you were a US citizen, is an election between two prospective war criminals. And also the rate of change, how bad things can get, can be tempered so that we can at least function, so that we can at least do something, so that we're not also dealing with an onslaught of militarized goons who were hired on the express purpose of hunting down people who are brown and violently ejecting them when we're trying to like unionize. You know, like we were trying to organize labor. and now this. So anyway, that's my take on voting. Like, I don't like the idea that people shouldn't vote. I don't like the if they. What kills me is when people say the line, you know, if voting worked, they wouldn't let you do it. First of all, who's they? Stop doing that. Who is they? Because that you just sound like you're saying Jews. Two, like, if voting didn't work, there wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar voting analysis industry and voter swaying industry, and campaign ads wouldn't happen. Three, it is the most reductive bullshit ever, because the people who say that are usually just thinking of election equals vote for president, which is not every election in this country. It's most elections in this country are not presidential elections. And so if you think that like they've rigged the vote for Jeremy running for city council in Duckwing, Pennsylvania, I don't know who you think they are, but damn, they are on top of it. Like, they are on top of it. If he's winning that race. Osborne says you need the Australian mandatory voting. I get a voting card at home. I can walk to the voting booth, no lines. I can back home in 6 minutes. Yeah, I would love that. And it's wild because like some states are like really good about it. Some states in the US have fully mail-in voting, fully automated mail-in voting. It's state by state. The problem is that these states that don't have that, which are typically the red states, which are typically the states that are the strongholds for the conservative government that's currently doing all this shit, they don't want to change that because that would make it easier for people to vote. And when people do actually vote in this country, they tend to lose. And so then they take it further by trying to use federal control to get rid of that as well. So like Trump wants to get rid of mail-in voting federally because he's an idiot. And that's basically that. We could learn so much from Australia. Yeah, I mean, like, there are a lot of things that we should be doing that we're not. Like, our country is very weird. We have a very weird country. We have a country that says we can't hold former leaders accountable. That is the country that we have. Like, whereas Brazil just jailed Bolsonaro, we are saying it is both legal for the current president to do whatever they want, and you can't go after former presidents for what they did. That's not normal. That's not normal at all. My government just goes, you didn't vote / register to vote. Here's a $50 fine. Don't pay the fine. All right, court date. Mandatory voting would be great. Even just voting day as a holiday would be great. I've said this before. I remember, and this might have been the beginning of my fucking radicalization, was I remember in like the mid 2010s watching C-SPAN and seeing Mitch McConnell, the then Senate Majority Leader, argue full-throated on the Senate floor. He's giving a Senate floor speech when there was legislation that was put up about making voting day a national holiday. He went on the Senate floor and he said that we cannot do that because that would be socialism. Having the voting day once a year, and I believe that they wanted to move an existing banking holiday to voting day. So it wouldn't even be adding a new bank holiday. Like the number of days off wouldn't change. It would just be that people would be able to go vote without as many people having to worry about missing work. And he was like, no, that's socialism. And it's like, my God, like nothing means anything. Voting day should be a paid holiday. It really should. I mean, like voting day should be a week, and you should be able to like take off any amount of time that you need within that week, within a given day or whatever, to go do it. Like if it was a week and then companies could say like, okay, we're going to give different people off on different days, then like, okay, it wouldn't be as much of an impact. And there is early voting, so. Socialism is when the government does stuff, says Dunkerberg. Yeah. Socialism is when government do things. Nitro Nick with the 4 gifted subs. Thank you so much. And congrats to everybody who got the subs. As it turns out, we need some socialism. Yeah, so like I try to just be a realist, right? Like the world that I want, the politics that I have in the world that I want, I'm not going to see. Like I'm not going to see that in my lifetime. And I'm fine with that. And I'm not trying to exert my will over the world, right? It's not my life goal to amass enough wealth and power to forge the world in the image that I want it to be. I don't think that people should do that. I don't think that that's a good way to go about impacting change. As someone who generally aligns with anarchism, I'm fine and understand and believe that like democratic socialism/socialism is a much more realistic path towards helping people have the things I want people to have than revolution. I just want people in my life and in my lifetime to have basic fucking comforts. Like any improvements. And I don't want to sacrifice a bunch of people along the way if possible. Amax says, I'm deeply leftist, anarcho-com, but I know it's a pipe dream of idealism. Yeah, I mean, there's the whole like bus concept, right? Like the idea of, you know, why leftists are all like picking each other apart all the time. The bus concept is like anyone who's left of center right, we're all catching the same bus in the same direction. Like, it's not going to take us to our exact destination, but anyone who's left of the Democrats, we've all got the same like 90% agreement on what things, how things should be different. It's just that like the last 10% changes it, right? But like we all need, or we're all in agreement that we shouldn't be fucking suffering, and people shouldn't be suffering more, and suffering is not an inherent like righteous thing that's a part of the American experience. Like we're all in agreement on that. Cool, great. We're gonna disagree on like end game anthropological phase shifts for humanity, but I don't think that's what we're talking about. I think we're talking about getting rid of Moms for Liberty and like not having schools ban books and like maybe acknowledging that gay people exist. Like that's what we're talking about right now. We're not talking about the next phase of human existence. It's the political equivalent of Elon Musk talking about how we need to preserve the light of consciousness and that's why he's getting people to Mars. Like, okay. Seems like maybe we could start with feeding people on this planet. That would be good. I think that would be good. Maybe let's pump the brakes and do that first. Then you need more than two parties? Yeah. Yeah, like that's the other problem. Like all of these things are true, right? The US should do a general strike and should have voting day be a holiday and should have mandatory voting and should have more than two parties. And all of these things are exactly not that way because they are the hardest things to change about our government. The only realistic way to get meaningful third party or to make third parties viable would be ranked choice voting, as Garnet just said. So ranked choice voting has helped in Maine. That, like, again, the people who are currently in power don't want ranked choice voting because it would undermine their power. And so they work really hard to make it so that ranked choice voting doesn't become a thing, which keeps third parties from having any viable path towards federal office. The idea, again, that everyone should just vote third party is another fallacy. Everyone should just, any suggestion that begins with everyone should just is a non-starter. That is unrealistic. It's like, yes, of course everyone should just do the good thing. But like that's not how reality works. There are tens of billions of dollars that go into funding elections for specifically the two parties that exist. And the two parties that exist would rather squash potential movements than align with them, because they don't want movements to undermine them. It's why the Democrats worked so hard to try to undermine Mamdani. It's why the Democrats, the establishment Democrats, tried to get behind Andrew Cuomo, an old, disgraced creep who had to resign from his position in disgrace for harassing people. But the Democrats put their full fucking force behind Cuomo instead of Mamdani, the promising upstart who is personable, smiley, attractive, and got the largest turnout of New York voters in modern electoral history. And it's just like, who are we going to support here? How are we going to do this? How do we stay a relevant party? Like the Dems are not interested in moving further left. They don't want to do that. They're happy that we're in Venezuela right now. They're happy that we have access to that oil. It's why all the Dems are arguing about how they didn't do it legally and not arguing that they shouldn't have done it. They're just happy that Trump gets to take the fall for it. So like, they're not interested in moving further left. They are disgruntled that the right has gone so far right that the Democrats are the home for anyone who's not a literal fascist. Like, if you are anything left of as far right as you can be, if you are anything left of maybe we shouldn't just praise a man who's a known con man and child molester as the second fucking coming, if that's not you, your only real viable option is the Democrats. And so the Democrats are like fucking mad about this. That's why that's why Nancy Pelosi kept trying to undermine AOC. That's why they tried to section off like, oh, the progressive caucus, that's the squad. That's not the Dems. That's the squad. They're their own thing, and we're going to target them, and we're not going to protect them, and we're going to try to get them out, and we're going to replace them with AIPAC-sponsored candidates instead. And like, that is just how that's what they do. They're trying to prevent any shift left, which is extra fucking crazy because all the while the Republicans are calling the Democrats communists. What? And yet this is where we are. I'm very tired of the Democrat platform being we're afraid of Republicans making fun of us. Here's some tavern vibes. Father, help! Anyway. Dev, thank you for being real and giving us good vibes. Hope you take care of yourself. Thank you. Thank you. Punch up together. That's the thing. Always punch up. Don't punch down. My whole goal with all of this, you'll notice that like I feel bad that I have been further like ripping on specifically like Republican voters recently. I try to stick to just ripping on elected officials because I really try not to punch down. And I don't think that Republican voters are they're definitely not above me, and I don't want to punch down. I think it's really important to consistently question authority. And I think it's critically important to show people that questioning authority is useful. Because I think a lot of people, especially those who grew up in like very religious households, were instilled from a young age to not talk back, accept what they're told, do what you're told and shut up, and like there's definitely value in having like structure and like leadership and being able to believe in that leadership. The blind faith is the problem. Showing people that we get a better world when we hold leaders accountable, when we shine a light on shit, we make people aware of what the fuck is going on and we actually do something about it. That is really important. Stupid people are not the ones to blame. They're just stupid and need protection. Yeah, and like that's why I try very hard not to just like sit here and dunk on like Trump supporters themselves. Like if you're going to be a loud, belligerent person about it, if you're the kind of person that's going to go harass people in the street, if like, you know, you see a woman with blue hair or whatever, if you're the kind of person who's going online and talking about how I voted for this in the face of just like horrific shit that people are seeing and experiencing, like, yeah, fuck you, eat shit and die. But if like you were a person who never really paid attention to politics, never really knew what was going on, very understandably, we're just trying to get to the next day every day. And you were told, hey, this guy's gonna make us all have more money, right? It should be pretty fucking sus. But for a lot of people, if they were told, if you vote for this guy, you'll have more money, they're gonna be like, well, that solves it. Now I know who to vote for. Great. So it's like, there are a lot of people who were that way, you know, like, sure, absolutely, a lot of them were just racist or just malicious. But there are a lot of people who just don't know any better. Local is at 16. We got 16 dice. Oh, what are we gonna get? What are we gonna get? What are we gonna get? Boom. 182. Oh, it's not actually adding the computed score. It's adding the let me see if I can fix that real quick. Overlay big number. So it's adding the base score, not the okay. What? Oh, wait, what? Wait. There we go. Now it should work. Someone roll a die. I'm gonna roll a die. It's gonna work. That 20. Oh, nope, it's a 2. There's the 20. I got the 20. Get wrecked. Bam. I'm amazing. Incredible. Okay, I fixed it. I stole your 20. Get absolutely shreked. It's all ogre now. Is this your vibe code face? I don't vibe code. I do not vibe code. That is my I'll go ahead and talk about this. I recently let me back up. I'm glad that everybody's rolling dice now. This makes me really happy. Someone had an equal instead of a plus equals. Basically, it was slightly different, but yes. I was calculating the updated score and then overwriting it. So I over the past few months have hyperfixated incredibly hard on a hyper optimized web app UI library that is the thing powering this stream. So like everything that you're seeing right now is currently powered by the thing that I have built. And I'm really, really close to sharing it for people to be able to play with. If you're a front-end developer, or if you're just like a software developer at all, or you know anything about software development, what I have built is essentially an alternative to like React or Vue or Svelte or Lit and stuff like that, but is intentionally designed to be as close to like native browser stuff as possible. So I've basically been spending months now building an extraordinarily hyper optimized, very low level, like browser web app system. And I'm incredibly proud of it. To the point that it's like, at first it was a toy project. At first I set out to be like, I want to learn, you know, I know how React works. I've used it for over a decade. I've used all sorts of front-end libraries, and I've debugged them. I've contributed to their code base. I know how this stuff works, but I want to design one from scratch that is competitive, if not more optimized, or like faster than React or whatever. And so I set out to do that. And at first it was a pet project. At first it was like a little like fake little toy project, and I had no intention of doing anything with it. Then I started to be like, oh, maybe I'll use this to make my own little stuff. And then at this point, it's like, this is genuinely nice. This is genuinely a nice thing to use, and I'm going to be sharing this. Lee Spear says, is it on GitHub? It is not. The code base will be, I'm going to open source it. It's not going to be on GitHub, but it will be open sourced on, I run a Forjeho instance for my community, which is like a GitHub alternative. So it'll be there, and there's also going to be a website with documentation, and it'll be available to install through a package manager as well as just like through a CDN. Long story short, it's been really, really fun. And at this point, it's basically done. And I'm going to be building a whole bunch of cool shit with it. So be on the lookout for like fun new web experiences and shit. I'm also going to be open sourcing my overlay, like the overlay app itself, which is wild. Roger Coolin says, bye, gotta go, take care. Toriko-sama says, why not use GitHub? So I'm on GitHub, not under this name, and I have a ton of stuff that's still up there from just like things that I built like a decade ago. I just haven't used GitHub in a while. GitHub is owned by Microsoft. Trying to not rely on too much big tech stuff in general. So like with the choice between GitHub and self-hosting my own Git platform, I do that. It's a little much. It's a little extra, but oh well. Wait, hold up, Endeavor. I think it's also adding the amount rolled by the dice together over and over. Probably not. Maybe? Unclear. So it's currently plus 2,000 and times 7 per roll. So it's gonna be a lot. Also, the $20. Thank you, Ada. Holy shit, did you fix it? I did. that is correct now. It is not 10,000 times too big anymore. GitLab. I used to use GitLab as well. But I don't use GitLab anymore because I'm self-hosting my own thing. Like if I do I have this? I'm not signed in here, but there is a website, git.astral.camp, and that's like effectively my personal GitHub. I'm going to be opening it up so that anybody in my community can use it, but for now it's just that. Git dev. Owned by Microsoft. Ah, cool. Not. Yeah, like GitHub being bought by Microsoft, and then also NPM being bought by Microsoft or by GitHub or whatever. It's just like, too much consolidated. It's the same reason React is owned by Facebook, right? Like basically every website on the internet uses React at this point. And React is while React is an open source project, it is stewarded by Meta. So, and like I can't really talk because like my project is written in TypeScript and TypeScript is stewarded by Microsoft, but still. Sandwich Enjoyer says, I'm a little smooth brain. Yeah, I'll stop talking about this now. I'm watching I'm watching my viewership numbers plummet the longer that I talk about the intricacies of what's it called? Of software version history as a service websites. Sorry, I'm not a programmer, kind of dumb, don't know what I'm talking about. I see odd behavior and pointed out, but you are right, I did not see the multiplier. No problem, no problem. Yeah, it's not super clear how it gets its numbers. Aaron Bradford says, thanks for distraction during my lunch. Need to get back to my syllabi. Enjoy your syllabi. Gotta get me some of that. Boo! Names Bond says, popping in to say hi and wish everyone only the best new year. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate you working to not be reliant on the big hubs at the mercy of big tech. Yeah, so I'm working on a handful of things. Like I've been working on very slowly. I stopped to build this like UI library thing, but I want to make a website. You know, you can watch this stream. You know, if you don't want to be on Twitch or on YouTube, you can go to live.endeavorance.tv and watch there. I want to also just have endeavorance.tv, and that is going to be where you'll be able to watch like my normal content outside of like YouTube and whatnot. Can you get back on Stuff Still Happens series? I haven't not been on it. That's still every Monday. This past Monday, I didn't do one because I posted the Venezuela video and that kind of derailed my whole process, but there's gonna be a normal Stuff Keeps Happening this coming Monday. I wish I could contribute, but my mental stuff put me out for a bit. Now with no job market, I gotta find something. It's rough out there. It's rough out there. Is the notification for cheers on Twitch turned off? Oh dear, it's just replacing them too. Oh well. It doesn't look like it's off. I mean, it's broken in a different way, which is great and wonderful. Let's see. Handle cheer. Yeah, that's that'll do it. There we go. That'll fix it. There's gonna be a bunch of bugs right now because I cannot help myself but just like kind of hack on this literally up until the moment that I go live. So like I'm actively working on my stream overlay, usually like frantically leading up right before I go online or on live. So Hail Sithis, I don't disagree. I meant, can you do this stuff still happen more often, like when you used to do before 2024? No. God, no. I used to do Stuff Keeps Happening every day. I used to do a daily episode of Stuff Keeps Happening. And then I went to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and now I do just Mondays. There's a handful of things about that. For one, I really don't like doing breaking news. I don't like having to be like ready to run to record a video and be among like the first to post it. I don't like having to talk about things where there's still so much ambiguity or whatever. I have shifted over the years from like Stuff Keeps Happening being like a very, very simple, like it used to be just like a couple of minutes stuff. And now it's like researched and sourced, and I try to make sure that like what I'm doing is helpful and not just noisy. I would love to do more frequent videos. I don't want to do more frequent Stuff Keeps Happening. And so that's kind of where I'm struggling right now. Struggling is a very strong word. I want to do other content. Stuff Keeps Happening is not a thing that I like love doing. You know, it's a thing that I think is important. It is a thing that people appreciate and enjoy. And so I like doing it for that. I like making all the gags. I like doing the fun parts of it for sure. But obviously, like, I'm talking about all the wild shit going on, and like that more than once I've had to take like a multi-month break because I like fell into a really dark place from all the shit that I have to constantly ingest. So as much as I want to do more, as much as it would be great to do more stuff keeps happening, I don't want to do that to myself. I want to make sure that people are informed, but I also want to do literally anything else. You know, like like I want to be able to talk about other subject matter. I want to be able to make just completely different types of videos. I want to be able to do things that people enjoy, both, you know, about the world, but about other topics. I would love to cover more stuff about tech, more stuff about just like science, interesting shit that's going on. I really want to do talks about the internet. Like I really want to do more videos talking about the internet and like how to be on the internet, basically. But yeah, the thing that I struggle with is I put so much energy and effort into producing Stuff Keeps Happening, and I try really hard to make sure that it's not just an episode of bullshit every week. And that kind of maxes out a lot of my just free time right now. And I really want to find a way to make it so that I can continue doing Stuff Keeps Happening while doing some other stuff. But as it stands right now, it's a matter of bandwidth, and I just don't have it. Balancing between mental health and staying up to date with current events is so hard. Yeah, and triply so when it's like, okay, time to watch another wave of children being blown apart by missiles that my tax dollars pay for every day. And then fucking someone came into my video about Venezuela. Some people are wild, y'all. Someone came into my video about Venezuela upset that I didn't stand Maduro. Like they're so like busted that they're like, they equate the fact that the US went after Maduro as I assume like evidence that Maduro is a righteous figure. And so like they were like upset that I didn't side with Maduro and said that I must have sided with Israel over the past 2 years and must have defended Biden. And it's like, I have the therapy bills to prove otherwise. Like it's been a rough go of it. And I've been talking about that. God, I remember like some people are just like can't be helped. Like tanky brain rot. Yeah. Fuck all tankies. God damn it. I once had a person like 2 hours after I had posted a video on TikTok about Gaza, I had a person comment on a different video of mine accusing me of silence on Gaza. And this was like, it wasn't even the first video I had posted on Gaza. I had been posting them for months, but this one person hadn't seen me specifically talk about that in their feed. And instead of checking, they just accused me of a moral failing of not talking about Gaza. And it's like, that is the side of all of this that I'm just like, I cannot deal with these people. Like this is the kind of people that is like, yeah, leftists are fucking exhausting. Like leftists are fucking obnoxious because they'll do shit like that. They'll do shit like, you know, a massive, complicated global event occurs. And yes, US bad. But like, if US bad then implies anything that the US is against is good, congratulations. You're a child. Like that is toddler think. The mind was literally not built for this. It's okay to not be tuned in for everything all the time. Can't pour from an empty cup. Yeah, and like the people who say that if you look away for a little, fuck that too. Our brains were not evolved to go from like eating our breakfast to seeing 4K footage of literal warfare and then having to go to work. That is not how humans evolved at all. And we also didn't evolve to see a constant stream of headlines and videos from around the entire planet distilling every bad thing that happens across the entire world into a feed of information that feels like it's in our backyard, right? You read about awful shit happening across the globe, and it's like, well, that's awful. Like, I know that there's, I know that it's not a good thing to be intentionally ignorant about the world. But if there were atrocities happening halfway across the world pre-internet, you probably weren't having it shoved in your face every day. And you probably were able to focus on the local problems that you were having rather than being completely fucking like shell-shocked because there are more problems than there are solutions across the entire world. Like, at the end of the day, it's not your problem if there's like bad shit happening over there. Did my live on YouTube die? What happened? Hey, people on YouTube, did my live end? The hell? No? Okay, no, my dashboard broke. Cool. Very, very, very good. Very good, YouTube. I just looked down at my YouTube like dashboard and it said concurrent viewers 0. And I'm like, oh. I guess no one likes me anymore. And I refresh the page and it's back. Still here? Can see you? All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. But yeah, no, I want people to understand that it's okay to acknowledge that, like, hey, all of these things that are going on everywhere are things that I can be aware of, and the fact that I can't do anything about it doesn't mean that I have failed. Unfortunately, that is an incredibly difficult thing to maintain, which is why it's okay to look away. I was gonna say, dang, YouTube just did a yeet. Yes, but also no, the secondary side effect of suburbanization is that there's nothing to help direct on local issues. Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be in a lot of the living situations that we're in. Humans were not built to live in nearby isolation to a bunch of people and consider each individual plot of land as sacredly someone else's. That's humans were not, we didn't evolve to do that. We evolved to have like clusters of people who are working together to survive. And instead, we have suburbs in the US where it's like you have your house and your car, and those two things are gargantuan disconnects between you and community. The internet came around just in time for Suburbia's decay to hit the full to really hit the full swing. Yeah, just stay inside. I gotta say, I'm happy to report that I've been seeing a lot more kids outside than usual. Now, part of that might be because the world's warming at an alarming rate, but another part of it is hopefully the kids are all right. Like there are I'm seeing Gen Alpha kids out and about, like playing in the grass. I saw kids tackling each other the other day. I saw 3 kids playing, like, you know, ostensibly playing some kind of like football-ish, like American football-ish thing. They had football helmets on and they had a pig skin, as it were. And one of them tackled another one. And you want to know what happened next? This was the best part. The one that got tackled was like rolling around, did the helmet grabby thing, and then got up, and the one that tackled him like patted them on the back, like You're all right, buddy. And it's like, yo, damn. These kids, though. Go play. Go have fun. It's entirely too warm for January, but the kids be all right. Indeed, indeed. Cluster people good. Ugh. Suburbia is such a weird concept to me. Probably the most American thing ever, says Gabs Rants. Gabs, I'm going to assume that you are not from America then? It's a very strange thing. Like, we have the average American has been essentially raised to believe that the pinnacle of freedom, the pinnacle of personal freedom, is a single family home in which you don't see your neighbors and a car so that you don't take public transit. So the pinnacle of freedom is not dealing with other people. And like we see this in like high society in America too, right? We see this in what the rich purchase. What they purchase is convenience and distance. They purchase homes that are completely isolated from anything else. They have privacy, privacy fences are everywhere. Like even in a suburban neighborhood, people have big fences so that, they don't want to see their neighbors. So they just put all that up. I remember growing up in a suburban neighborhood and thinking that was how it was supposed to be, and this is good, and that people who live in cities were chumps, because why would you do that? It's so loud and dirty and gross and scary. But then also, why would you be out in the rural area? Because then there's nothing to do. Meanwhile, I complained all the goddamn time about how there was nothing to do. I didn't put the two together for a while as a kid, that the reason I had nothing to do was because I was a child, didn't have a driver's license, and therefore couldn't do anything. So it's like, I guess I'll play in the street again. Where I grew up, like, we had a park nearby that was it was a big hill. And at the top of the hill was just a green field. There was like some picnic tables or something off to the side, but it was really just a plateau with a big field. But it constituted a park, technically, insofar as there was a sign there that said that the park was closed after sundown. Imagine being a teenager and like one of the few things that you can walk to is just a thing that's called a park, and it's just a field of grass on a hill, and that closes when the sun goes down. Okay, guess I'll stare at a wall? I mean, in reality, I just masturbated a ton, like nonstop, like so fucking much, because that's all there was to do. Just fucking jorking it, cranking my hog all day. That's the life of a teenage boy. Was there even a sidewalk? Not everywhere. There were sidewalks, but not everywhere. The rich don't even stick to isolation. They keep isolation. They keep an isolation house for when the pitchforks come out. But most of them go for high rises in urban centers. Yeah, Mac, you're right. But like also a high rise in an urban center is still isolation. They want the access to the benefits of society without participating in it. Right? They want to be able to like parachute down into society and then get helivaced out of there every once in a while. It's not like, they're ingrained in the culture. I'm not implying that you're saying that, but they buy a high rise in New York so that they can go be in New York and go to some event or whatever, and then otherwise not deal with what it's actually like to live in New York because they have so much money they don't care. And also, how dare your younger self? Chicago inner city is beautiful, says Jafar James. I really want to visit Chicago. Chicago seems like an incredible city. It seems really fucking cool. younger me was just weirdly anti things that I didn't think about much because I was a young white boy being conditioned to dislike things that were weird to me. Thankfully, I'm no longer a young white boy. I'm an old white boy. And I've learned through the years that things can be things that I don't think about a lot without disliking them. And even sometimes when I start to think about those things, I do like them. So like now I do like cities. Like I could see myself living in a city. I don't currently, but like, yeah. I went from being like, I would never live in a city to being like, God damn, these cities are gorgeous. Like Baltimore is a wonderful city. Chicago's seems really fucking cool. I'm a really big fan of Seattle. I visited Austin. I liked Austin. I will say I could never live in Austin. Aside from it being Texas, your water is trash. I can't drink your water. It's undrinkable. Like your tap water. Undrinkable, unworkable. I'm sorry. Sorry if anybody here is from Austin. Boston, that one's great too. Boston's amazing. Boston's an amazing city. Hella racist, but amazing city. I also feel like that could describe basically everywhere in the US. You'd like Pittsburgh? I do like Pittsburgh. Yeah, I like Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh. I like Philadelphia. Philadelphia is nice. Philadelphia is not as... Philadelphia is cool. Nice. Depends on the day. Remy says, hey, Dev, good morning. Hello, hello. The Burger Pits. I mean, Maine. I like Portland, Maine a lot. I haven't been to Portland, Oregon. I suspect that I would like Portland, Maine, which I know I very much like, more than Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon does seem like a really nice place. Portland, Maine is possibly the cutest place I've ever been. Like, Portland, Maine is just like very walkable little town with a gorgeous like oceanside promenade, and everybody looks like this. Like everybody wears sweaters, so pretty good. I lived in Salem for a few years. It was wild in a fun way. It was wild and fun. Way too big city for me. I like my rural life. Yeah. So also, I want to be clear that like you can enjoy whatever kind of lifestyle you want. You know, I'm as always. I'm not trying to be prescriptive here. I waver a lot on all this. VR 3D Grave, 12 months, 110, 1820. Thank you for subscribing. I waver a lot. There was a period of time where I was like genuinely looking into like, okay, I think I just want to buy a bunch of land somewhere and like live in a tiny house and live in isolation. Then, you know, I swing from that to like, I want to live in the heart of a city. Then I swing from that to like, I want to have a collective where like we're, you know, we all get together and buy a like a duplexy kind of thing, and we each have our own like living spaces, but you know, it's not like having roommates necessarily, but it's like, you know, we all own I guess a co-op or whatever it's called, not a co-op, but condo association, the kind of thing where everybody has their own dedicated living space, but you all are paying the paying to own the building together. Denver was super dope in the 2010s, but exploded in size after COVID. That's interesting. I would have thought it exploded in size after the weed stuff. Denver was like very much one of the places I was considering moving to. Still a co-op? Is that what that's called? Burlington, Vermont, another place I actually quite like. I stayed in a building that was like exactly that. It was essentially, there was a guest room, more or less, like a guest space that was, I don't know if it was just like they like rented out while it doesn't have a permanent tenant, but it was like a very big house. This is Burlington, Vermont, so it was old and falling apart, but it was a very big house that had been essentially sectioned into a bunch of smaller apartments, but each one was like a full living space. And as far as I understand, the structure was just each tenant paid, equal or mostly equal amount towards the mortgage. And like they didn't have a landlord or whatever. London Face says, side note, it's very hard to get planning permissions for a castle. I knew a couple of guys. I had some coworkers who bought a castle once. It wasn't a literal castle, but it was a building that was a like residential building with a facade that looked like a castle. I don't know why, but that's what it had. Like the front of it looked like a castle with like parapets and turrets and shit. And they just like these 4 dudes, they were all like coworkers of mine. They always like, they had a thing. They had a history of going in together to rent a place that's like ridiculous. And so that's what they did. So that for a while, these 4 guys were called themselves like the Lords of the Keep or something like that. And yeah, they lived in basically a castle. And then later on, I worked for a company whose CEO bought an actual castle, like an actual whole ass castle. And I was like, cool. All right. We've got some wealth disparity. Anchorage, legal recreational weed, biggest small town around, stuff to do, but you can be alone too. Moose wander around. It's great. I want to visit Anchorage. I want to visit Alaska in general. Alaska looks amazing. Like, outrageously gorgeous. Hey, it's time for this. Wasn't a retail space. It was not. No, it was like a normal residential building, like a house. It was like a single family home that I assume was converted into a like escape room or something at some point, and then went back to being a single family home. Unclear. Please come visit. I mean, if I'm ever in Alaska, I'll make that clear to folks, because that's a pretty rare occasion for me. I've seen what it takes to rent a castle for a few days. It's a lot. Yeah, like a big castle, like a real ass castle for sure. The guy, so it was the CEO or president. So I used to work for Stripe, and it's owned by 2 brothers, and one of the brothers purchased a castle in Ireland. Let me see if I can. John Collison Castle, Ireland. I think it was mostly for preservation, and like to be clear, they're Irish, so it's like an Irish national made a purchase of a historic castle in Ireland for preservation. So like it's not that awful. But yeah, let's see. I guess it's not so much a castle, more an estate. But like, it's like a modern one. Billionaire acquires Koalaus mansion on 1,120 acres. Damn. Got some topiaries? Is that what those are called? That's the same picture again. Can I get more pictures of this thing? What is the Abbey Leaks estate? I want to see pictures. Damn. Can I have like one room? Like one of them? Just a single bedroom? That hedge maze looks easy. Yeah, the hedge maze leaves a lot to be desired. I will say the hedge maze leaves a lot to be desired. I missed a hydrate. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I apologize for saying castle when clearly I meant to state. So there's that. I want a hedge maze that will kill me if I get lost. Please, thanks. Well, then just go play Resident Evil 4. Again, my favorite comedy game, Resident Evil 4, has a literal hedge maze part where you're like it's in a castle and you need to get through a courtyard and you're a dude with guns and you're defeated by a hedge maze with zombie dogs in it. And you got to like navigate this fucking hedge maze. What a game. But I already talked about that game a lot last stream, so. Build a tiny house on the outskirts. Tiny castle. Oh my god. That is amazing. Numa Pompilius 333 says a tiny castle. Incredible. That would be so good. Like a tiny house, but it looks like a castle. Right? Imagine like a tiny house, like the kind that you can like cart around. Like it's on a little trailer that I can like hook up to a car and drive. But it looks like a castle. And I can just go put it somewhere. And that's my domain now. This is such a good idea. Holy shit. Oh, this is such a good idea. Train moose to defend the castle? Hell yeah. Yes. And like, I'll need to get a pretty good like backhoe so I can put up a moat wherever I go. Yeah. Tiny Glade intensifies. I need to play that game. I need to get / play that game. Game looks very good. Literally just finished playing Resident Evil 4, says Devnisa. Resident Evil 4 is a game I have played a lot. The remake was really, really good. I didn't finish it though. Frankly, the remake was really good. I got about 2/3 of the way through and I was like, yeah, I've played this game like 20 times. And this is basically the same game. This is good. I don't feel like finishing it. Like it's just like the kind of game that like I played on loop forever as a kid. I just like, would beat it and then go back and play it again and then go back and play it again and like had every single unlock and like, yeah, I've played that game into oblivion and so I just kind of can't. Now I haven't played Oblivion into oblivion. I've never actually beaten Oblivion. Anyway, it's starting to be that time. Starting to be that time. I got to get going. But before that happens, we're gonna do one more quick snuggle on the dog. Resident Evil 5 though, Chris versus the Boulder. Now that I do remember that. Hold on. So asleep, like so very snooze. Amazing. He's a very snoozy boy right now. Like very. Hold on. Let me see if we can get a better shot of this. Oh, and if you're wondering, today the chalkboard it says nothing. Praise. So don't worry about it. All right. Time to go. Thanks for hanging out with me. It's been a good stream. I'm gonna be streaming again on Friday. So I'll see y'all then. Thanks. Bye. Take care. Be well. See you Friday.